Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Dr. Hani Mansour Al-MAZEEDI. I am in Halal since 1981. When I say I'm in Halal in 1981, is I work for my government. I supervise Halal. And then later on, I became the eyes of Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, unofficially for Saudi Arabia. But they asked me a question, I answered. They don't have to say where they got the information. Anyway, the title of my presentation today is the Halal Tayyibin perspective on the issue of what to what extent do margarine type oils and artificial meats meet the requirement of being halal and طيب. In Arabic, منظور حلال الطيب بخصوص مسألة إلى أي مدى تلبي أنواع زيوت المارجرين واللحوم الاصطناعية متطلبات الطيب الحلال. To start with, I always start with this little opening speech. Consumers have the right to know. And in most of the times, consumers are deliberately made not to know. The scope of this presentation focuses on the question, to what extent margarine, oil, and artificial meat are complying with halal criteria. Both of these items, I mean margarine and artificial meat, are like many other matters that early Muslim scholars did not know and are therefore considered them as emerging issues, min al-nawazil. The content of my presentation, it will cover two topics. First, artificial cultured or lab-grown meat. I will talk about its introduction, its justification. Why do they make lab-grown meat? And then I will go to tayyib perspective, and then to halal perspective on this issue. Then I will be talking about margarine oil. Also, I will give an introduction and its justification, why it came to its being, the tayyib perspective and the halal perspective. Then at the end of this presentation, I will go into conclusion and recommendation and solution as well. Artificial meat, some introduction and its justification. Several projections have suggested that world population will reach over 9 billion by the year of 2050. This increase in population required approximately double the current food production. In light of worsening resources shortage, several food have been proposed as alternatives, with artificial meat receiving an attention. Let's talk about the tayyib perspective of lab-grown meat. It is not like normal meat in terms of nutritional content and quality, especially for micronutrients like zinc and iron. This new meat lacks salt content and other important nutrients such as vitamins and hemoglobin, the main carrier of oxygen in the body. These meat are similar to distilled water, which does not contain salt, and it's harmful to human health if a person relies totally on it as a source of natural growth for his body. The halal perspective on the meat grown in lab, Islam strongly supports technological development that serves humanity, especially if it deals with food security and quenching hungers in areas that have mass hunger and malnutrition. But like other technologies that Islam encourages taking control of, at the same time, it warns that the technologies behind lab-grown meat must be governed by the criteria of halal, or, for example, that the raw cell and stem cell material for tissue growth do not come from an animal or a bird that Islam does not allow us to eat. such as pigs, predatory animals, birds of prey, and other things that do not comply with halal criteria. Likewise, it should not be from the cells of dead animals or bird, even if its meat is permitted by Islamic laws. It must also be from an animal that meet the condition of halal slaughter. The other thing which is absent from many scientists is that the component of growth media during the production of artificial meat should not contain impure materials such as pig's enzyme or gushed blood bovine serum albumin, which is BSA, which are often used in the growth media. There is another matter that may be difficult to implement, which is that the technicians who carry out culturing process of artificial meat in the lab should be Muslims who are trustworthy in their religion, because technicians of non-Muslim faith, due to lack of knowledge in halal, may use impure materials at any stage of production. Let's talk about margarine oil, why it is being produced, and its justification. Margarine is most often used as a substitute for butter, and it is referred usually as margarine. Margarine is made from vegetable oil and animal fat, which many people doesn't know that. And sometimes the animal fat are of unknown sources. Margarine can be used as an ingredient in food products such as pastries, donuts, cakes, and cookies. To produce margarine, vegetable oils and animal fat undergo a full or partial hydrogenation process to change their chemical structure to harden, that is, to solidify the oils, especially the vegetable type, which are liquid at room temperature, to make them solid like butter. One form of margarine that its fat content below 80%, between 10 and 79% of fat, it is called butter spread. Vegetable fat can contain anything from 7% to 86% saturated fat acid. That is the bad fats. Liquid oil, canola oil, sunflower oil, tend to be on the low end, healthy, good fat. While tropical oils such as coconut oil, palm kernel oil, and fully hardened hydrogenated oil are at the high end of the scale, which are the bad fat. A margarine blend is a mixture of both types of components, that is the good and the bad fat. Generally, firmer margarine contain more saturated fat, that is the bad fat. We're still talking about the tayyib aspect of margarine. Okay, now we go into detail. In margarine, saturated and unsaturated fat, the bad fat, may be produced. These two components may contribute to a coronary heart disease. A more recent process called interestrification, or by enzymatic interestrification, achieves similar results without forming any trans fat. However, saturated fat, the bad fat, still exists. So what is the halal perspective of margarine? Margarine contains a number of substances of questionable halal status because it may contain animal fat that can be originated from type of lard, which is fat from pigs, cow fat, or fat of cows that were not slaughtered halal, because in non-Muslim countries, most of the cows are not halal slaughtered. To make the filling material spread in margarine, it requires thickener that could be a gelatin. Whey, which is a byproduct of cheese making, is often added in a small amount to prove its flavor, to prove the flavor of margarine. So gelatin and whey are the two ingredients that their halal status are doubtful. In butter spread, often used in it sodium caseinate, Caseinate is a protein which only found in milk, the status of which is doubtful because of its production may involve enzymes of animal origin. If enzymatic interestification is used in margarine as an alternative to hydrogenation, the source of the enzyme in this process is questionable. Margarine and spread are products of water emulsion in oil. Therefore, it requires an emulsifier, a material that is capable in maintaining stability of emulsion. Most emulsifiers use fatty acid or glyceride, in which the two materials can be derived from plant or animal. Therefore, the halal status of emulsifier margarine and butter spread are doubtful. Of additional material in margarine and butter spread is lecithin. There are so many types of lecithin. One type of lecithin uses enzyme phospholipase A, obtained from pig pancreas. Unfortunately, all kinds of lecithin in the market, named with lecithin alone without specifying their origin, cannot be distinguished from other halal sources, such as soybeans sources. So the status of lecithin is doubtful. Flavoring is another issue. In dairy product consists of many types and many ingredients. Flavoring may contain fatty acid, could be from plant or animal. And the hydrolysis, which is the breakdown of milk fat with lipase enzyme, can be from plant, animals, and microorganisms, many of which come from animals. Thus, the halal status of flavoring in dairy product are doubtful. In conclusion, after knowing how margarine is made, we must be careful with the product because of its doubtful status. So, choose margarine that has been inspected and certified as halal. In conclusion and recommendation, we will say the reasoning given by some ulama, muftis in this field, such as with the current custom or the generality of the affliction, is an explanation for a reality that is far from Islam and a reform that is legally rejected, especially in our present time. And due to prevalence of calamities in their views, they have allowed the use of many harams. The deviation of people from the straight path does not change the nature of disobedience or sins. The solution is, in this case, is not to justify to a reality that is excreted by dependence on market globalization, but to find a new reality based on Islamic values in which the capabilities of the Islamic world cooperate to rebuild a new halal food and pharmaceutical industry. The dominant civilization today is going without insight. It has gone astray and has lost itself by moving away from the norms and by surrendering to a materialistic values. The standards of Islam are embodied in the lives of Muslims and then in the lives of all human beings. Muslims must blaze a new path by which they save themselves and the whole humanities. This is my photos in 1981 with brother Amjad Mahboob in Australia. I was representing Kuwait. You can see the difference of the color of the beard. I was 26 years old here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Thank you very much for listening to me.